YouTube, and welcome to the DBTGAMER Show, episode 202. Today's review will be the long-awaited The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. This game took a very long time in development. I remember when it was first announced for the Wii U, way back in like 2012, and then about 5 years later, the 3rd of March this year, it was finally launched and we finally got to play this thing. Let's see if this game was worth all that waiting. Okay, let's start with the story for this game. The story for this game, it's good, but there's not much of it. Basically, Link has been in a coma for 100 years and he basically can't remember anything. In this review, in a moment, I will show off one of the story cutscenes. Throughout the game, you find these little points. There are 12 of them in all, with one secret one, which is very important later, which reveals several important plot points. But once you find all of these points in the game and press A, you can watch one of these cutscenes later and reveals stuff about your past. Overall, I thought the story was pretty good, but I kind of wish there was more of it.
There's one. Oh, and another. The flowers we have in Hyrule aren't just beautiful. They're also quite useful as ingredients for a variety of things. This one here is called the Silent Princess. It's a rare, endangered species. Despite our efforts, we can't get them to grow domestically yet. The princess can only thrive out here, in the wild. All that we can hope is that the species will be strong enough to prosper on its own. Is that what I think it is? Look at this. I don't believe it, but I actually caught one. This delicacy is known to have very, very potent effects under the proper circumstances. Ta-da! Research from the castle shows ingesting one of these can actually augment certain abilities. We wouldn't be in a controlled environment out here, but with your level of physical fitness, you'd be a perfect candidate for the study. Go on. Taste it.
Next, let's go for the graphics for the game. In the Wii U version, the game runs at 720p and most of the time 30 frames per second. Now, onto the Nintendo Switch version. When the game console is in its dock, it runs at 900p and 30 frames per second. And when the system is out of its dock, it runs at 720p, 30 frames per second. Now, other reviewers have reported frame drops in both the Wii U version and the Switch version. I myself, yes, I've experienced frame rate drops, but nothing I would call game breaking. The game runs fine. 9 out of 10 most of the time. It's very good looking and the game runs well. Obviously it's not as good on the Wii U, but it's a less powerful console, but the Wii U handles the game pretty well. So no matter which version you get, you'll still have a solid experience. But I would highly recommend the Switch version. Now let's talk about the music for the game. The music for the game, it's good, but there's not that much of it. Most of the game is pretty quiet and has a lot of ambient music sounds. But when there is music, it is good music, and I really like my Zelda music.
I doubt this will let up anytime soon. Your path seems to mirror your father's. You've dedicated yourself to becoming a knight as well. Your commitment to the training necessary to fulfill your goal is really quite admirable. I see now why you would be the chosen one. What if one day you realized that you just weren't meant to be a fighter? Yet the only thing people ever said was that you were born into a family of the royal guard, and so no matter what you thought, you had to become a knight. If that was the only thing you were ever told, I wonder then, would you have chosen a different path?
Now on to the controls for the game. The controls for the game are as follows. Minus brings up your Sheikah slate, plus brings up pause, left analog moves, right analog is camera, X jumps, Y attacks, A is actions, B is to run and put away. If you click in the right stick, you can use the Sheikah scope, so you can plot where you can go next and make beacons. ZR is to use your bow. R is to throw weapons. ZL is your L target, and L is your Sheikah moves, which I'll get onto later. That's a thing for later. Left stick moves. Up is to change your Sheikah ruins. Left and right, switch your weapons, and down is to whistle your horse. Now, when I first found about the whistle power, I thought it would be like Shadow Colossus, where you can just whistle for your horse, and the horse would come to you no matter where you are on the map. It doesn't quite work the same. It mostly only works like medium range. You know, you have to be sort of nearby your horse in order for it to hear you. So it's not as good as I would like it to be, but it does work. Most of the time I spent running around Hyrule on my feet, or using the glider, or surfing down mountains like Legolas with the shield surf, which I found a lot of fun. And you can also pick off enemies whilst you're shield surfer as well, and also stab them with your sword, which is all kinds of fun. The gameplay for this game, it's an adventure game, and it's great. The gameplay is so great. Exploring the giant overworld of Hyrule is just so much fun. I mean, when I first made a video of this on YouTube, when the game was launched, one of my quotes was, I am lost, but I don't care. It's a giant overworld. You're going to get lost, but there's so much to do. You're not going to really care too much about getting lost and that sort of thing. Yes, the big overworld can be overwhelming at times, but it's just so much fun to play around in. Next, let's talk about the dungeons of the game. The dungeons of the games, there's 5 main dungeons and 120 shrines. The shrines are kind of like mini dungeons, I suppose. I'm going to talk about the main dungeons first. There are 4 main dungeons. Then I'll talk about the castle itself at the end. The main dungeons are called Divine Beasts. Each one's like in the shape of an animal. One's like an elephant, one's a bird, one's a lizard, and one's a giant camel. In each one, they have like this puzzle which involves like tilting a certain part of the dungeon so that you can complete various puzzles in that area. And I like them. You know, they're a lot of fun. I really enjoyed exploring the Divine Beasts. It's a shame there's only 4 of them. I wish there was more big dungeons in this game. That's one of the things that's disappointing about this game, I have to say. The Hyrule Castle or Ganon's Castle at the end, whatever you want to call it, that's a really big sort of dungeon area, so I counted that as a dungeon as well because it was so big and so much fun to explore. Now I'm going to talk about the shrines. The shrines of the game, they're also a lot of fun to explore. And every time you beat a shrine, you get a little purple orb called a spirit orb. And if you get 4 of these things, you can take these spirit orbs to a goddess statue and cash them in for one of 2 bonuses. Either a stamina extension or a health extension. At the beginning of the game, you will start with 3 hearts and 1 bar of stamina. But once you get into the habit of beating these shrines and collecting these orbs, you can easily extend your health bar any way you like, or your stamina bar any way you like. It's really up to you how you upgrade your Link. Next, let's go talk about the good stuff about this game. The good stuff about this game is as follows. The story is good, but there's not much of it. The cutscenes of the game, they are also good, and although other reviewers don't seem to like the voice actors, I thought the voice actors did a pretty good job. Link doesn't talk, but the other voice actor did a pretty good job. Maybe they should have done maybe a few more takes just to get the voice acting down perfect, but it's a good first attempt for a fully voice acted Zelda game. It works pretty well. The gameplay of the game, it's fantastic. I just love exploring this big, beautiful, vast open landscape that is Hyrule. It's just so much fun. There are several side quests in this game, and a lot of them are really fun and really rewarding. One side quest that I did, I found a lot of fun, was I found a shard of the toilet mirror, and I found this man. He said, go photograph the other piece of the mirror and it might unlock something for you, basically. So I looked around the beach, found the other mirror shards, photographed them all, took them all back, and then for my troubles I was rewarded with a new shrine to explore and complete. And it was just great to do a little side quest and get rewarded for it. And also it had references to Twilight Princess, which is one of my all-time favourite Zelda games. I love Twilight Princess. Now let's talk about the Sheikah Slate. The Sheikah Slate has multiple powers. At the beginning of the game, you'll beat 4 shrines, and these will give you your powers straight up. The first one is the remote bomb, which is a bomb. You get infinite bombs as long as you let it recharge. It's so much fun to have infinite bombs. Another thing that's great is that when you're using the glider, you can actually drop bombs from your glider and do death from above, like a World War II bomb, and just watch your enemies die. I remember I was on this island where I lost all my equipment, so my solution to the problem was, while I was fighting this giant blue ogre guy, was just drop bombs on him for a very high height until he died and hope for the best. And my plan did work. There's also square bombs which drop on areas so they don't roll around. That could be quite useful. The magnet power, this is really useful for solving puzzles. You can make bridges with like objects that are made of metal and that sort of thing. It's really fun to play around with. Next power, stasis. This is one that I haven't really used that much. It's good for freezing enemies in place, and then you can just walk over to them and hit them a few times, like I did with the final boss, Calamity Ganon. And there's also another use for it if you stasis a rock or something, and then if you hit the rock, you can make it fly for miles by turning off the stasis, and then the momentum build bay just flies off once the time's run free. That's pretty useful in some of the shrines. Next power, the Chronos, I think it's called. This makes ice blocks, which you can use as platforms as long as you're around water. I absolutely love this power. I think this is my favourite power in the entire game, to be honest. Just the ability to make platforms makes things really easy when it comes to getting around and when you want to get somewhere. I really like the Chronos power. There's also the camera power, which works like the scanner in Metroid Prime. You can just take pictures of things and it tells you about them. It's really useful. Now on to the final cheat slate power, which you can turn on in the menu. The amiibo power. The amiibo power is pretty good. I had fun using it. I only have 2 amiibos for this game, so I can only really talk about 2 of the amiibos I have. I had the Link amiibo from Super Smash Bros. For Wii U. That, if you scan it the first time, you get a horse called Epona, which you can take to a stable and use at your leisure. Also, throughout the game, you can catch wild horses and ride them around, which is very useful when it comes to exploring this giant world. And the next time you'll scan your amiibo, you get like random drops. These random drops could be like a sword or a shield, and maybe some health items and some items that you can cook with as well. I'll get back to cooking later, 'cause that's very important. Next, on to the Twilight Princess Wolf Link amiibo, which I used quite a lot. I really enjoyed having Wolf Link next to me. You scan it and then you got like a little wolf that follows you around. It's like having D-Dog with you in Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain. This little dog will sense enemies nearby and just go off and attack them and help you out in battles. It's just so great to have a little companion with you. I really enjoyed the Wolf Link amiibo, and its health bar extends if you play in Twilight Princess. It has the exact same amount of hearts as you had in Twilight Princess. It's just a great little amiibo. I really enjoyed using it. Now let's talk about the magical powers. Throughout the game, after you finish each Divine Beast dungeon, you'll get one of 4 magical powers. The first one that I got was the elephant one, which I have to say is my favourite because it really helps when it comes to fighting enemies. If you lose all your hearts, this thing brings you back to life and also gives you some extra health, which is just great. I mean, it does take a long time to recharge, but it's an absolute lifesaver, and this game is really difficult, all things considered. The next power is Rivali's Gale. This thing, if you just press and hold X, you can create an updraft and fly on your paraglider anywhere you want. It's just really useful for traversing the landscape. The next thing is this shield thing, which protects you from big attacks from big enemies. It's really useful. And the final one, Robosa's Fury, I think it's called, is a charged up sort of lightning magic attack which does serious damage to enemies, and it also, certain enemies, it can stun them. It's really great. I had a lot of fun with that one. Now let's talk about the menus for the game. I'll just quickly go through these. The first tab is your weapons. Throughout the game you can complete these little side quests where if you find certain puzzles, you can complete these puzzles and you unlock these little items called Korok Seeds. And if you give these Korok Seeds to a guy in the Lost Woods next to where you find the Master Sword, you can extend your inventory. The first tab is all your weapons, like your swords, your axes and your hammers and all that sort of stuff. Next tab is your bows. Oh, this can be extended as well, and you've also got your arrows. You've got regular arrows, fire arrows, ice arrows, shock arrows, bomb arrows, and your ancient arrows or your tech arrows, whatever you will call them. Throughout the game you can just buy and use these at your leisure. The ancient arrows are a quite rare item and they're very expensive to craft and buy. They are very useful when it comes to fighting the Guardians. They will literally kill them in one hit. Next, I'm going to go into shields. Throughout the game, finding shields is very important, and it's a very useful tool when it comes to defending yourself. There is Hylian shields in the game. In order to get a Hylian shield, there are a few places in the game where you can get one. The place that I found one was the Hyrule Castle, or Ganon's Castle, right at the end of the story. There's one in the basement after fighting a big boss sort of enemy. There is another place where you can buy them. There's a shop that you can unlock, but I haven't unlocked that yet. I need to do that at some point, but this game is so massive it's sometimes difficult to find certain things, but I'm still enjoying it. Now on to the next tab, which is the armor tab. The armor tab is great. Throughout the game you can buy, find and craft different sets of armor. It's just so much fun to collect all these different outfits. And you can also find these characters called Great Fairies, which will upgrade the armors as long as you find the correct materials. And the amiibos also unlock armor. I have the Link amiibo from Super Smash Bros. So therefore I can scan that amiibo and unlock that Twilight Princess armor. Every so often, every time you scan the thing, you might get a piece of the armor, and it is random, but I found a little trick. If you go back to your save file and just reload your save, you can potentially just keep scanning the amiibo and eventually get what you want. It's a pretty useful trick. One armor, which is a little bit ridiculous. For one of the towns of the game, you have to dress as a girl in order to actually get in there and do what you need to do. So, yay for cross-dressing. Link is a drag queen. Let's have a look at the next tab. The next tab is the food tab. The food tab is basically where you store your food. Now, let's talk about cooking a bit here. Throughout the game, if you find these little pots and light them with a fire arrow, as long as it's not raining. Yes, there is weather in this game, which can be rather annoying when it comes to climbing, because you can't climb in the rain because your fingers will slip off the rocks, which is frustrating. But if you select your items on your inventory by using A and then just press hold, and then you can put them in a pot and then cook a nice meal on it. You can create various useful foods. I wish there was some sort of like cookbook that you could get in the game so you could store your best recipes and go back to them later and using them, but alas, there isn't. Next tab is the materials. The materials can be used to craft things. There are certain characters in the game, if you talk to them, get me 10 fire lizards and I'll make you some armor. You do that, there's your armor. Boom, great. And there's also like all these gems that you can find, and the gems can be used to sell for things. One of the best ways to get money in this game is to find rare stuff and turn yourself into a walking shop and just sell everything you have. One of the best side quests I found was I found 10 luminous stones and I gave them to this guy. He gave me 2 diamonds, and then I discovered that I could keep giving him more luminous stones so I could get basically infinite money, which was just great because everything's really expensive in this game. And the final tab is key items, which I don't really need to explain because it's all story-based stuff. The minus button, it's just your map. This is where you can plot where to go next in the game, and you can place markers. Really great for navigation. Throughout the map you will find these towers which you can climb, and once you climb the towers and put your Sheikah Slate in, it will unlock the area, and so you can see it on your map screen. It's just really, really great. The story part of the game, I really liked the combat system in this game. The only thing I had a problem with was the fact that when you L target enemies, you can only hold L. You can't do any sort of switch target like in Twilight Princess, which I found a little bit frustrating because I prefer the switch target style rather than the hold style. There's multiple weapons to experiment with, and you got to find the best one that works for you, I suppose. And that's all the good stuff I'm going to talk about. Okay, now that I've finished showing off all the footage and talk about all the good stuff of the game, let's get on to my complaints. Now, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, I really like this game. It's a good game, but I am a fair person and I will make complaints. Complaint number 1, there is no L switch target, which, in my opinion, is a rather big problem. When I was playing Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, that had the exact same targeting system as this game, where you just hold the button and you can't switch on and off and switch between enemies easier. The exact same issue is in this game. It makes the Z targeting or L targeting, whatever you want to call it, a little bit more difficult to control. I don't see why they left out the switch target option for people who want to use it. I mean, they kept it in for Twilight Princess HD and Wind Waker HD, so the fact that it's now been removed from Breath of the Wild is a major annoyance for me. My next complaint. Now, a lot of reviewers have addressed the breakable weapons thing. Some people are okay with it, some people aren't, some people vilely detest it. How do I feel about the breakable weapons thing? The breakable weapons thing, I think it's understandable why a lot of people hate it. I myself, it's annoying when certain weapons break. I kind of wish there was a way that you could take weapons to a shop and get them repaired for like a fee, or you could gather materials to repair like special weapons. Because there are certain weapons in the game that you could only really get one of, and if you could repair them, or if certain weapons were made more durable, this whole breakable weapons thing could be a little bit more manageable. Now, I get the idea behind the breakable weapons concept. It's to make so that you experiment with different weapon types and find which ones work in the right situation, which ones fit for you, and that sort of thing. I get it. It's not a bad concept, I just think it could have been a little bit more lenient. Now on to my next complaint. This is sort of a beta complaint. In the Wii U version of Zelda Breath of the Wild, when it was in its beta stages, when you were on the Wii U gamepad, you could switch your weapons on the gamepad like you could do in Twilight Princess HD and Wind Waker HD. This was a great feature that was in the beta stage of Breath of the Wild, and the fact that they removed it just because they wanted to make the two versions the same, I think it's a lame excuse. It's a shame that that you can't switch weapons on the fly. So yeah, I don't like the fact that they removed that. And the other thing I don't like that they removed from the Wii U version is the fact that you can't look at your map on the gamepad whilst playing the game. You know, there would be no harm in leaving that in Nintendo at all. I think it was a really good idea, and it would really help with navigation. And the world in Breath of the Wild is so big, it can easily get overwhelming and confusing where you need to go. And having a map on your gamepad would have really helped with that. Another complaint I have, I would have liked there to be more main dungeons. In the game, there are 5 main dungeons, and that's me being generous and counting the Hyrule Castle or Ganon's Castle as a dungeon as well. So, yeah, I would like to see more dungeons. Now, there is some DLC on the way in the summertime, which will release like a Pit of Trials dungeon, which could be fun, although we'll have to wait and see how the DLC pans out. And also, around Christmas time, there is supposed to be some more DLC, which gives you a new dungeon and a new storyline to play, which sounds great, it sounds like a lot of fun, but personally, I would have liked there to have been some more actual dungeons. I love the shrines. The shrines are great. You know, I really enjoyed exploring those. I've still got more to explore because this game is massive. It's going to be very difficult for me to 100% it. But I wish there was more actual dungeons. Now on to another issue. A lot of gamers who have reviewed this game have been complaining about frame rate and the game locking up. I myself, yes, I have noticed frame drops in the Wii U version, whilst my sister's been playing, and also in the Switch version. I myself, most of the time, I thought the game was relatively smooth. You know, it was playable. I never really experienced the huge lockup that other gamers had experienced, but I do see why some people would be frustrated or annoyed at this. But other than that, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is a great game, and I really enjoyed playing it, and I can't wait to go play it some more. My rating for Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is a 4 out of 5. It's a great game, and it's definitely worth buying and playing for your Nintendo Switch or Wii U. It's probably the best game on the console right now. Anyway, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!